Welcome back to NY Flight Jets Talk. The news of today: Mike Williams is visiting with the Jets. He did arrive last night. He stayed in a hotel. They're officially meeting today. Jadeveon Clowney's visiting Wednesday. Will the Jets let Mike Williams leave the building? I don't know. My guest is the great Brian Costello of the New York Post. Let's roll.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Here we are. Here on a Tuesday, Mike Williams arrived in Florham Park last night. Like I mentioned, he's visiting today. I hope the Jets don't let him leave the building without a contract, but I do think he's going to want to explore some other options. So let's bring our guest on the show, Mr. Brian Costello of the New York Post. Cost, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Connor. How are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, last time we had you on the show, it was right after the Senior Bowl, kind of the dog days of Jets football. Didn't really know what they were going to do. Not really much to talk about at that time. But here we are now in the middle of free agency. The Jets have made moves. Obviously, the main one, bringing in Tyron Smith, revamping this offensive line. So I'm going to start with a draft question. With this offensive line revamped, obviously you might have seen the mock drafts that came out earlier today. Daniel Jeremiah had the Jets trading up 5 picks and going and getting Marvin Harrison Jr. And then for the second mock draft in a row, Mel Kiper Jr. had the Jets taking Bowers at 10. So I personally can see the Jets going in the weapon direction, but what do you think would best suit the Jets to add more depth at the offensive line for the games that these guys are going to miss, or go out, look for a Brock Bowers, maybe a Romo Dunze or someone of that kind of nature?
Yeah, I think we need to see how it plays out with Mike Williams and any other receiver, right? What they do there, because right now, if you're going and you're going, well, go get a weapon, right? Because they don't have that. But I think we're all assuming they're going to add a receiver here, whether that's Mike Williams or Odell Beckham or somebody else at some point. I think what Joe Douglas wants to do is go in the draft without any pressing needs where he has to reach for somebody. So he can go in and see how the board falls and who comes down to them. Because I think you can make a good argument for all of these options, right?
Yes.
Tyron Smith and Murray Moses are nice stopgaps for 2024, but they're both 33 years old. Moses coming off a shoulder injury. Tyron Smith didn't practice at all last year because he had stinger issues. So you can't expect them to be healthy for 17 games. I mean, Jets fans have seen offensive line health issues for so many years now. So, if they're out there, I think it was a good gamble by Joe Douglas to go that route. But it doesn't preclude you from taking a tackle at number 10, because that they can help you this year if someone goes down and into the future. Because I do think one of the symptoms of what they did here with this year is they're going to be in the same boat next year in terms of going into the offseason going, oh boy, we need a lot of offensive linemen, right? Unless they're re-signing these guys. But it could be a situation next year where you're looking at it and they need 2 tackles again. So I think they go tackle, or, but if things don't fall the way they want here with the receiver market, they certainly could grab one at 10 or moving up seems aggressive to me, but you never know. I mean, this is a do or die season for these guys. So maybe they do love one of these receivers to move up and grab one. I consider Bowers basically a receiver. He's in the same boat as that group of guys there that you talk about in the top 10.
Yeah, I think Bowers is solid because you can move him around. He lines up in the backfield as fullback. He's played a solid amount of snaps. You use him as a wide receiver. He's a fast guy, 6'4". I think he's big guy. I really like Romo Dunze, though. Like you mentioned, I think Romo Dunze, you said Bowers can be in the top 10. I totally agree. But Romo Dunze I really like just because of his size and the way that the Jets could use him. And I mean, let's say, I don't see the Jets going wide receiver. You would, the guys around the building, like you would know more than me when it comes to this stuff. But I personally don't see the Jets going wide receiver at 10 if they bring in Mike Williams. I just think that would be a little overkill for the Jets. I feel like they'd probably go wide receiver maybe if we brought in like an OBJ type of guy or like a cheaper option. But I definitely. Yeah,
I think you've seen Connor, and it frustrated Jets fans last year, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Joe Douglas will take the best player available. He will. And like they took Will McDonald last year and they didn't need to take Will McDonald. And I know that drives some people crazy that they took Will McDonald. So, but I think this is, he's true to his board. Like Ozzie Newsome taught him. So if he feels like a receiver is the best player there, I don't think it matters who they brought in. And again, whoever they bring up wide receiver is not a long-term solution. Like Mike Williams won't be here for 10 years. So I don't have a problem with them taking a receiver if they also have one. I think they can put themselves in good position here to draft, to not have a pressing need at 10 and just go with the best player they can find. And, injuries happen. You can't have enough guys at these positions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was just laughing at seeing all the Twitter memes of like Robert Saleh watching Dallas Turner film right now, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Like that would be the most
Yeah.
That would be the most jet-like thing to do, to like draft like Jared Verse or Dallas Turner. Like those guys are so talented, but like another edge. Oh my god!
Someone with the Jets texted me right after the Patriots game, right, the last game of the season, and they said, "Where are we picking?" They were asked like, because they knew we were all paying attention more than they were. They said, so where do we end up? And I said 10. And I said, don't worry, you'll be able to get a good edge rusher there. That the defensive lineman is the story of the Jets drafts for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. But staying with the topic of edge, the letting Bryce Huff walk for 3 for 51 really upset me, because you look, and Carl Lawson got 3 for 45, and we all know how that went. Carl Lawson's 3 for 45, and the fact the Jets couldn't like make an accommodation, $6 million more, try to match. But if I'm being completely honest, like I said, you would know more than me. But if the Jets matched the Eagles' offer, do you think Bryce Huff would have considered the Jets? Because I personally thought he would go to the Eagles, even if the Jets matched, just because I think he's going to be an every down guy there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Connor. I think he was ready to go, unless the Jets really blew the offer away, right? They would have to top whatever he was going to get. If it was even, I thought he was leaving, because I think he wants to play every down, and another team's going to give him that opportunity. And I also think he already was annoyed with the Jets that they didn't play him more. And it's like kind of a thing where if the money is even, a lot of times the guys will leave because they feel disrespected. Like their team knows them. They should be paying them more than this other. Like, this guy's willing to give me this money, and you guys, now you're just doing it because they are. Like, no, I'm out of here. So I think he would have left, even if they had matched. But it was a tough one. I went back and forth on it, because I get it. He's not an every down player. I mean, he is a great. He's a good player. Could be a great player at a premium position. And you found him. You developed him. And $17 million a year is not a lot for a pass rusher. Right? Like, it sounds like a lot, but then you start thinking about what Bosa gets and these other guys get.
Yeah.
You see what Brian Burns got from the Giants, and it's not that much. So, and then I came back to it. What I kind of kept coming back to that day is, are the Jets better today than they were yesterday? And the answer was no, right? Like, because the defense got worse that day. And I still think if you're asking about the defense is worse right now than it was at the end of the last season. So that's a problem. You don't want to have that to happen. You want to have that happen in the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. Staying with like the defensive tackle kind of scenario, the defensive line, obviously the very good chance that Al Woods is going to retire. So the Jets needed to look for someone to replace him. The Jets signed Lakey Fotu, 356 pounds he is, from Arizona.
Don't chip him with that pound, Connor. Don't chip him with that pound.
Yeah, I look at him and I think he's a downgrade from Al Woods, if you really think about it. I know Al Woods wasn't fully healthy last year. He tore his ACL in that Broncos game, but I look at him as a downgrade. And then also the Jets brought in Javon Kinlaw from the 49ers. Everyone at the time thought it was like, okay, good signing. And then the money got released, what we paid him. And the first thing Jets fans went to was, oh my God, this is an overpay. So what were your thoughts on that type of contract details compared to what we got? I two different sides of the ball. Don't want to compare it, but Tyron Smith. I mean, I'm still in awe how he accepted $6.5 million guaranteed or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And to reach $20 million, he'd have to play. Rich Cimini put out a tweet today. He'd have to play every game. make the
Yep.
Pro Bowl, and the Jets to win the
Just have
Super
to win the
Bowl.
Super Bowl. Yeah. No, it was a good. Tyron Smith's like a great contract. In terms of Kinlaw, I wouldn't get worked up. It's a 1-year deal,
Yeah.
and then when it came out, it has a bunch of void years on it, so the cap number's not that high. It's I know people got it was higher than I expected it to be. I didn't think he'd get that much, but that's you're rolling the dice there, right? It's a first round pick
Yeah.
from a few years ago. He's got a lot of talent. It hasn't happened in San Francisco. He's had a lot of injuries, but maybe you catch lightning in the bottle. And I know the Jets feel very good about what they've been able to do at that position. Like with, if you go back to Sheldon Rankins and Foley, Fatakasi, and then going through last year with Quinton Jefferson, like they've gotten Solomon Thomas. They've gotten production out of that position. They feel like they can coach that position, and their system is friendly to that position. And I think, and playing next to Quinton Williams helps, right? You're not going to get double teamed a lot. You get some opportunity. So I think they feel pretty good about that. I'd be lying to you if I give you a scouting report on Fotu. I don't know. When they signed him, I was like, who? So I don't know.
That was literally my reaction too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I've been breaking down Leke Fotu film. Like I don't know. We'll see. He's younger, right, than Woods. That's what I would say. Is they got younger there, which is better health wise. Woods was good when he was out there, but he got hurt, and you probably expect him to get hurt at that age. So this guy's younger, that maybe has a little bit more durability, and they need someone to be a run stopper there, and I think that'll be his role.
Yeah, I agree. I want to ask you a question about two free agents that obviously haven't re-signed with the Jets yet, but names from at the end of the season, a lot of people thought, okay, these are two names especially that the Jets need to bring back: Justin Hardy and Ashton Davis. I talked to Zach Rosenblatt on Thursday. He came on my show, and he said he does not think Ashton Davis will return in the green and white for 2024 because he, quote, thinks he will pursue a starting job elsewhere. And then a week from today I had Rich Samini on my show, and he said he thought we can expect a Justin Hardy extension within 24 to 48 hours, and that was last week. So what are your thoughts on those two players, and do you think they can return for next year? As we're, a week and 8 days after the legal tampering period started and still no extension.
Yeah, well, when we get to this point, Connor, people are free agents because they haven't gotten the offer that they want, right? It's pretty easy to figure out. They haven't gotten the money. So will the Jets go up? Probably not. I think those two guys are probably exploring their options and seeing what they can get. And can they get more from somewhere else? We'll see. So I still think there's a chance both of them are back. I think Hardy is, a very, very key piece of the special teams program here. So I would really try to bring him back. And Ashton had good moments last year. I do think you can find another third safety that can play special teams. But if he can get a starting job somewhere, I could go for it. But I don't see that happening. The safety market got saturated with all those cuts. The cap casualties got so. I think it'd be very hard for him to find a starting job. But to me, those are guys you kind of circle back around on, probably, in the next couple of weeks. I think that this is that kind of, we're in that stage of free agency where guys are trying to see if they can get anything better out there. And if they can't, they'll come back.
Yeah, I think Justin Hardy was definitely a key piece of the special teams unit. But depending on the money that we're gonna pay, probably gonna be around, I don't know, $2-3 million a year. Like, he's not like super, super, super expensive. But Irvin Charles, when he got his opportunity, looked great on special teams. He looked really good.
Yeah, so you'd like two of those guys, though, right? And Eccles is good. Eccles is pretty good at it too. Brandon Eccles has developed into a pretty good special teams player. So about Hardy, they were different when Hardy was out there. I agree with you. Irvin Charles did well when he got his opportunity, but they're a different special teams unit. Hardy brings energy. He's a captain.
Yeah.
He's a guy, like, he's got some intangibles that he brings that you don't want to lose, but the value gets tough, right? How much do you pay a guy who's a special teams ace? And he might view himself as a player who's worth a lot more than what you said. And that's where the key is. And, I think the Jets will probably let him go see if he can find it. And I'm sure he's searching for opportunities now, but I wouldn't be shocked to see those two guys back. I think they're just probably looking to see if they can get paid right now, as they should.
Yeah, I agree. A free agent move, staying topic free agency, a move that really upset me because I thought he had a really good year last year. Quinton Jefferson going
Yeah,
and signing with the Bucks, and it's being reported that he gave the Jets a chance to
yeah,
match
he
the
did.
offer. And it just upsets me because we were in need going into this offseason. Defensive tackle was a need that we needed to address with all Al Woods. I know we brought back Solomon Thomas, but he was a free agent. Quinton Jefferson obviously left. So that really upset me because he was really, really solid last year. And the fact the Jets didn't even go out and match his offer really upsets me. And I think his contract was like 2 years, $9 million or something like that.
Yeah,
If I'm
no,
not
I agree. I think they blew that one, Connor. And talking to people, it sounds like they really mishandled it. I
Mhm.
think Quinton wanted to come back. I think the Jets wanted him back, and for some reason, they were just kind of procrastinating. It sounds like, and they just weren't moving quickly with him. And then the Browns kind of came in and took him, and the Jets just there was no urgency from the Jets to get that done. So I'm not sure what that was, if they weren't approved to offer the contract or what happened from the Jets side of things. But yeah, I thought he played really well and was a good player for them. And it's either I because at first when they signed Kinlaw, I thought, okay, that's it for Jefferson, but they were still in on Jefferson after they signed Kinlaw. They were still trying to get him, but they just never seemed to have the urgency that the Browns did, and so the Browns got him.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
really, really
weird
upset.
things happen in free agency like that.
Yeah, one more thing before we kind of let you go. But
Yeah.
so Mike Williams is obviously with the Jets today. He flew in last night, like I mentioned. He's meeting with them today. Do you think there's a possibility the Jets will sign him today and say Joe Douglas will sit down with him and say we're not letting you leave the building till you walk out with an extension? But I think Mike Williams, I think it would be smart for him. He has a visit scheduled with the Panthers. Why wouldn't he want to go out and see what other options are there? I think it would do not it wouldn't be good for him. It would give him a it wouldn't it wouldn't benefit him if he didn't explore any other
Well,
options.
like I said before, like what I talked about with Hardy and Davis, right? Mike Williams is in the same boat right now. He clearly has not gotten the offer that he wants. So this is now we're in the stage of free agency where guys take visits. Sure, the Jets could sit down and go, "We're not letting you leave. What is it going to take to sign you?" But I got a feeling that number's probably too high, and the Jets know that. So, um, it's definitely a possibility, but I think he will probably want to explore all of his options. And I'm sure he and his agent know what the Jets are offering, what the Panthers are offering. And I think the Steelers are the third team he's visiting this week, what they're offering right now, and they'll see if they can get it out. But like the Jets will try to sell him on coming here playing with Aaron Rodgers, all the moves they've made, and see if they can convince him to take their deal. But typically this time of year, guys start taking when they start taking these visits, they take a few and then they make their decision. So I think there's a possibility. You asked, there's a possibility they sign him today, but I wouldn't count on it. I think more likely he gets on the plane and goes to Charlotte after this.
Yeah, and then we mentioned obviously Clowney's visiting tomorrow.
Yeah,
And could you see the Jets adding another edge? Could you see the Jets adding Clowney?
I definitely think they need to add another edge, right? Because they like
Mhm.
to have three on the as like a third down rotation, and so right there they have Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald's, right? JFM is more of an early down pass rusher. So I think they'll definitely add an edge. Is it Clowney? I'm skeptical on whether it's Clowney. I think I don't know. I'd be surprised maybe if it's Clowney, but and he's a guy I think he'll definitely take a few visits and search around. But I do think the Jets will add an edge rusher at some point as that third guy in their rotation.
Yeah, I do see the Jets adding another edge. One more thing, last thing before we let you go. Is there any buzz you're hearing around the Jets with free agency that you'd like to share with us?
No,
Some hot topic that's going
if I got
around that
that
we don't know
kind of, I'm
about?
sharing it in the New York Post. No offense, buddy, but I'm doing it where the people who pay me are going to get that information. But yeah, we're probably. I mean, this is like the third wave of free agency now, right? Because that first wave is that first few days. Then the end of last week with Tyron Smith is the second wave, and now we're in the third wave where it kind of goes slow, and they just have some visits. I think the owners' meetings are next week. So it really slows down when we go to the owners' meetings, and then after that, it really turns to the draft. So I think it's going to get quiet, a lot quieter here, and it'll be, they need to add the receiver, they need to add an edge rusher,
Yes.
but I think it'll be, smaller signings after that. But remember, they gotten some good signings. Like we talked about Quinton Jefferson. I think he signed in May last year, right? So everyone concentrates on the first week, but you can get some good players after the first week. You can get some useful pieces later in free agency, and I think Joe Douglas will be doing that. We've seen he's searching for value, and I think that's what he'll continue to do here through the spring.
I agree, Kaz. Thank you for joining us. Any final thoughts?
All right. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate it.
Of course, love to have you back on. Appreciate you joining us, everyone. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, JETS, 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 Jets.